Hello, everybody. We got a Nintendo Switch in, and it's no power, no charging, as far as we know. So let's start with some simple diagnostics. I've got my power meter here. I'm gonna just plug it in. Let's go to the overhead, and we're gonna bring this down so we can see what's going on. Oops. So right now, no power is being drawn. It says 0 amps. Let's go plug in this output cable, and we're going to plug this into the switch and see what happens. Nothing. No power being drawn whatsoever. No power being drawn. Let me just flip over this cable. Sometimes that can make a difference with this little power meter. Sometimes it's finicky. Let's see. 0.36 amps. 0.365 amps. That's one side. What about the other side? It does look like it's pulling power, but we don't know what the board situation looks like. The customer had brought it to another shop, and they said they couldn't fix it. We don't know if they did any work on it or what. So let's go ahead and get this disassembled, and we'll look at the board. So I'll be right back when that's all out. Okay, so I got the back cover off and the motherboard is exposed, so we could just do some quick measurements while we're here. We know the charging port is working because it was pulling current through. So I got the battery disconnected. We're going to go ahead and check for any shorts along these caps. So P13 USBs. Oh, let's check. Yeah, it's probably fine. No, let's see what's going on here. Do we have a short? That seems normal. What about here? No, no short there. Well, it's looking... That chip can still be bad, but I'm glad that this capacitor is not shorting out right here. If this capacitor was shorting out, that would be something on the CPU. I don't think this fuse is bad because... Oh, let's check. Maybe it is. Oh, interesting. Oh no, it's beeping. Okay. Let's check this filter. You never know. Something like this. That's good. That's good. Just check these caps over here. That all looks good. Everything looks clean so far. The fan hasn't even been removed, so whoever looked at this before didn't even bother looking at the board. They'd probably just looked at it and said, oh, it's a motherboard issue. It's probably this power chip. I don't know if I have any on hand. I'll have to look. I might. And we'll give it a go, and we'll see what happens. So let's get the board fully out, and then we'll check what the board's doing, because it should basically draw some power and then stop. So we'll see if it's doing that. Okay, so I got the board out. We could check a couple things while we're back here. We got our P13 USB. I think it's probably fine, but let's go ahead and check these caps anyways. Usually if it blows, it'll be one of these filters. And this pad over here, at least that's what I've seen. check these filters anyways. All of those filters test out fine. Let's just do a quick visual inspection of the whole thing. Just look to see if there's anything on this underside of the board. Let's see. There is a fuse over here for the battery. Let's just check that. It looks fine. And it is fine. Okay. Let's go back to their side. We'll do a visual inspection over here. This device has never been disassembled to this point. My guess is that it is this chip, but whatever. Let's just look at the rest. I think that's just thermal paste that got smeared. Let's just give it a quick scrub. Oh, maybe it is discolored. I don't know. It does look a little discolored, doesn't it? Discolored doesn't mean it's bad, but let's still check that component anyways for any shorts. It looks fine. Yeah, I think that component's fine. It looks a little dirty, but these components are not shorting out. So I will be paying attention to that component just in case replacing the M92 chip doesn't work. Let's go ahead and see if I have a donor part on hand. Otherwise, I'll have to order one and swap it out. So I'll be right back. So I do have this switch light. I may have practiced on this, so I'm not sure if this chip will be working. But let's just go ahead and take it off anyways and try it out, because that's what I have on hand, and I prefer to give this back to the customer today. So this will just be a quick swap. Let me turn my temperature up to 450 on my hot air. Let me get my fume extractor going. Let me I believe I was just doing some practice on this chip earlier. Whoops. Let me get my hot air tip to something a little bit different. Just 1 second. Alright, I got my nozzle changed on my hot air. Let's go ahead and just kind of preheat the area. Let me get my little board holder over here just to give a platform. So I'm not totally heating up my desk. I mean my silicone mat. Just gonna heat up the area. Going a little bit further away. Let me point this. Just kind of go a little bit further away. Okay, now that that's a little warmed up, let's put a drop of flux. And let's come in again. Gonna heat it more, heat it more. I'm just gonna keep it moving around in circles around the edge. Okay, I'm gonna move my air away. I'm now gonna come in with my tweezers Grab the chip from the middle. And let's come in. I'm just going to hold it over the top. Light pressure upward. All right, we got our chip. Let's give this a second to cool off. So we got our new chip on hand. Let's go ahead and put this donor board aside. It's going to be a little hot. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and put the new board, the board we're working on, in the holder so it's secure. All right, so it's in our board holder here. Let me move my fume extractor a little bit further away, and I'll turn it up. I'm going to carefully come in and preheat the board. I'm just going in circles around this chip. Everything looks really clean on this board. That's such a good sign. This chip, it can go bad. It can happen. It doesn't seem like there's a short in the CPU. So that's my best guess. It's so funny because that fuse, it's like, it never does anything. Let me turn my mic down a little bit. There we go. Let me add a little bit of flux. Let me turn my air up. Okay, now let me come in with my tweezers. I'm going to be really careful. I got shaky hands, so I'm going to do light upward pressure. The board holder will keep the board nice and firm. I'm not going to pull up with enough pressure to rip any pads. Okay. Just preheat that area one more time. Just so everything looks good. And here's what we're going to do. We're just going to come right in with the chip that we took off. I'm going to put that in place. Kinda. We're going to begin to heat that up. Okay, I'm going to release. Now I'm going to add some flux. And now watch this. I'm waiting until that drops down into place. Look at that, nice and gentle. I'm going to release the air, wait for it to solidify, and then here comes the coolest part. I'm going to press. I'm going to come in with that hot air one last time. That's it. The other thing we could do is we can just come in and touch up those pins while it's still hot. So I think it'll be okay. Alright, let's let it cool down a little bit and we'll do a quick visual inspection and then we'll test. Okay, it's cooled off, so let's clean it up. And then we can come in and do a closer visual inspection. Just brushing it off. Let's just get in there. I think it's looking good. Okay, let's come in real close and we'll inspect each side. This side looks great. Let's rotate. That looks great. Look at the other side. That looks great. And the last side. It's a little sideways, but those connections are solid, so let's see what the board is doing now when I plug it in to this power adapter. Where's my USB-C cable? Here we go. I got my output. So it should go up briefly and then just turn off. So let's see if it does that. Oh, I may need to flip this cable the other way. Just 1 second. Goes up to 0.2 amps. And then, let's see, does it go back down? Or does it stay? Let's try the other way. It's going to 0.2 amps and it's staying there. So I think what I may need to do is just order another chip. I don't think this one's any good either, unfortunately, and I don't have any other donor boards on hand, so let me check if I do have a part on hand. Just 1 second. So that chip that was a little suspicious that we saw next to this capacitor that had like the black on it, this is what it looks like underneath the solder balls. I'm kind of wondering if I could just try to reflow that and see if that helps. Not too fond of how that's looking. So maybe let's just give that a quick reflow. I'm going to go ahead and cover this connector. Let me put this back on the board holder. Because that does not look good underneath. And that could very well be an issue. So we'll get that taken care of. Let's see. Put some flux down. I'm going to aim the heat away from the processor. And then I'm just going to come in just until I can just tap it and I'll see it barely move. Release. We'll let that go for a second. Let it cool. If I need to replace that chip, I can try. I probably need to reball it, so I'll have to see if I have a stencil. But let's give it another minute to cool and we'll be right back. So that didn't resolve it. What I'm going to try, just to confirm it's not that chip, drawing power. I'm going to just remove this chip because we'll probably need to replace it anyways. And then I'll at least know if I take this off and it's still drawing power, then I'll try removing that chip. Just because it didn't look good doesn't mean it's broken. It could have just been some thermal paste that got under there in manufacturing. Let's just go ahead and take this chip off. Put that aside, and let's check the power draw now. Just gonna let it cool. So now there's no power draw. That's telling me that that other component probably is not shorting out, which is a good sign. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to just go ahead and order another chip, and we'll come back to this repair in a part 2. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the follow-up.